one of the nurses that came in, someone that I actually know personally from my community, and I told her, listen, it's 11 a.m. I'm having a boy. If I give birth before sunset, my son's Brit Milah will be on Shavuot. Everyone's going to be in Jersey for the weekends because that's what everyone in my community does. They go to Jersey for Shavuot. I'm not going to have any pictures, and no one's going to come. If I give birth after sunset, I could have a bris the day after Shavuot. Do you think I could hold it in? She was like, no. Everyone was like, no, you're going, you're going, you're going.
Giving birth is one of the most significant events of your life. Sadly, the joy that you should feel can often be replaced with anxiety and helplessness instead. As a labor and delivery nurse, I'm revealing insider information to educate you, reassure you, and decrease your fear. In this podcast, you'll hear empowering birth stories and experts weigh in on a range of topics. Being Jewish also has me exploring Judaism's influence on the reproductive experience. However, I speak to anyone wishing to navigate their journey with more joy and confidence. I'm your host, Chani Fingerer, and you're listening to the Happy Birthway Podcast. Welcome to episode 45 of the Happy Birthway Podcast. If you liked part one of Millie Schwecky's birth story, just wait until you hear part two in this episode. We were on our second glass of wine at that time, so you're going to hear a lot of laughs, a lot of funny stuff, but you're also going to hear a lot of enriching information that you can apply to your birth and postpartum, since Millie is a pelvic floor disorder specialized physical therapist, and she is going to tell you the things that she did for herself with the knowledge that she has. So this episode is gold. Before I start the episode, I wanted to let you know that I am running a promo for my After the Birth online course. It should be taken 32 weeks and on. That's approximately the time that you want to sign up so that you have it fresh in your mind, and you'll also have access to it after you give birth to help you refresh. If you would like to get 20% off, then use code SUMMER, SUMMER, at checkout. I'm going to put the link in the episode show notes, or you can just go to youladitacademy.com and search for courses in the menu. And let me tell you, I'm a labor and delivery nurse. Okay, so primarily, more of my job is taking care of women who are in labor and just had their baby. But firstly, I take care of women in at least the first 2 hours after birth. That's part of our job. But also, I do float to the postpartum unit as well. And the thing that I love most about that working on that unit is the fact that I get to educate families on newborn care. I get to educate the moms on their self-care postpartum. And I have to tell you, there were so many times that I walked into a room, I sat there with the family, and I educated them, and they burst out into tears because either it had been a while since they gave birth and no nurse had told them what I did, or they had had other babies and they had such a difficult postpartum experience with with those babies, and the regret that they felt that they could have avoided so much of that anguish had they had the information. And so I packaged all of that information into my course, because a lot of it you are not going to learn from your standard nursing care. And the best time to learn this stuff is before you give birth and before you're in that overwhelming immediate postpartum period. So the bulk of the course focuses on the first week to 2 weeks postpartum. There is going to be an additional course that's going to focus on a broader spectrum of postpartum, but this really gets into the nitty gritty. You're going to come prepared. You're going to know what's normal. You're going to know what's not normal. Have people told you that the postpartum period is horrible? I've had many people tell me that they'd rather give birth 10 times over than have to experience postpartum. Yes, it can be horrible, and it is hard. I'm not saying that it's not hard and that it's easy, but instead of feeling anxious, like you just have to survive those first few weeks, you're going to be able to thrive in those first few weeks, because you're going to be so prepared and you're going to have the tools to know how you can get through this in the best way possible, to be able to enjoy your newborn baby and not be distracted by all the other stuff that you have. So don't make the mistake of going into this blindly. It's so important to focus on the birth, but don't overlook postpartum because it's actually longer than the birth. So again, use code SUMMER, and I will put the discount link in my episode show notes as well. Or you can just go to youloveditacademy.com/store to get a really in-depth understanding of what you're going to learn and use the promo code SUMMER, SUMMER. This code is going to expire on June 30th. So you have through now until the entire month of June to take advantage. If you're earlier on, say you're like 22 weeks, but you really want to take advantage of this discount because it's not going to happen for a while after this, then let me know and I'm going to delay your access to the course so that when you're about 32 weeks, you'll get access because you get 90 days of access to the information. You can write comments and ask questions in the comment section and I will answer them for you. You can email me if you have any more in-depth questions. I really hope to see you there and look forward to supporting you through this most amazing, significant, and hard phase. Let's get on to part 2 of Millie's birth story. If you didn't listen to part 1, listen to part 1 first.
Okay, so my birth story, ready? Oh my God. Okay. So the day before, it was like 2 days before was Mother's Day. I was like, guys, I have a stomach ache. And my sister's like timing my stomach aches. I'm like, no, it's not contractions. Like, it's literally a stomach ache. It was probably like super early labor. My last patient of the day, the next day, Monday, saw me and she was like, you don't look good. You have to go home and lie down. I was like, I'm having all my friends over and we're making hafrashat challah, like for a segula that I'll have like an easy delivery. I don't know if that's like a thing. Syrians do that. In the 9th month of pregnancy, we do a whole challah party.
I love
We,
that.
yeah, we make challah. So I made 15 pounds of dough. Okay.
Oh
I
my
brought it over to
gosh.
my mom's house, and all my friends came over, and we had a great night.
But that's
Um,
a lot of pressure, like, to do that. Everyone does that? Or, like, just,
Not everyone to that extent. I think I'm a little bit extra. I also love making challah. It's like
okay.
something that I like to do. So whatever. I just had my close friends over. We were maybe like 10 people.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting the whole time
Whatever. It's like the
braiding.
baby shower equivalent in Sephardi
Yeah, I
culture.
guess so. Yeah, it kind of is, I guess. Um, and my friends actually chipped in and got me like a whole kit of stuff I'll use postpartum, like pajamas
Oh, you have good
and like,
friends.
soaps and slippers and, all cute little things.
I love that.
Yeah, it was really cute. Shout out, guys.
Are you careful about not buying things before you have the baby?
Not really. Like I bought all the furniture before. People thought it was weird, I'm sure, but I just like a little type A, I needed to have stuff.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if Ashkenazis do the same thing. We do what's called a layette. Do you guys do that?
Yeah, but and again, everyone's different. Like there are some that you
But we
could
pick it up after.
right, exactly. Like you could pre-order it, give them the credit card number, and then they only charge after and whatever. Everyone's got different things, and obviously, I think it also depends on what support you have. Like some people
Hmm.
don't have anyone that is going to be able to pick anything up for them afterwards, so they need to be better
Right.
prepared. With Svardim, I think you have a lot of like very strong customs and traditions, and like I'm not going to go as far as to say superstitious, but you have like beliefs in like spirit stuff. Ayin hara.
There's a lot of spiritual. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Right. So that's why I was
Yeah, a lot of
asking.
people are like that. A lot of people are like that. I specifically am not like that. I'm just a very practical person.
Yeah, I hear that. I'm
Yeah.
also, but no. And the reason why I'm saying this is because if you were strict, then it's really smart baby shower where they're not actually buying anything for the baby; they're buying stuff for you. You know,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
that's really smart. I
But it's
like
not
that.
really shower. People don't even do the
Uh,
gifts. It's usually just like you make a call and go home.
hmm
Um,
That's why you made the
so it
15
was
pounds, though.
really
You wanted the
cute.
nice slippers. Okay.
Yeah. So the whole time I'm there, I'm like, guys, my right side like hurts. Like I don't know what this is. Like my right side, my right side. I get home, I see I have one stretch mark on my right side. I'm like, I didn't get a stretch mark this whole pregnancy because my mom has good genetics and she doesn't have stretch marks. I didn't get a stretch mark. I see one on the right side. I say, that's why I'm in so much pain. My skin's stretching. Holy cow. 6 hours later, my water breaks. So I'm in bed. On my, oh, I have to tell you about my raft. I had this raft. Okay. Imagine a pool float. Okay.
Don't tell me
With a
you had the one with the
hole,
hole in the middle.
the hole.
Oh my,
I'm a
that's my
stomach sleeper.
dream. That was my
I'm a stomach
dream.
sleeper through and through. So I slept on my raft every night. Happens to be
Stop.
that that night I kind of like got off of it maybe an hour before my water broke, so it didn't get the amniotic fluid all over it. So it's clean for the next one, thank God. And my water breaks. I'm like, oh my God, I just pee the bed.
Before we continue, I wanted to let you know about a revolutionary diaper brand called Diaper, DYPER. These eco-friendly diapers are made with viscose from bamboo, so they're soft on your baby's skin while still being extra absorbent to handle your baby's biggest accidents. Diaper wants to pass on the savings directly to you by cutting out the middleman. They ship your diapers to you for a low, predictable price with no extras or gotchas. Set your subscription and let them deliver the exact quantity you need. If you need more, they'll deliver them promptly with their exclusive SOS service. If you need less, send them back with a prepaid label. You can precisely manage your deliveries using their website or their mobile app. One of the products that I think is really cool is their Diaper Sense. It's a small sensor that you attach to your baby's diaper, and it continuously monitors the temperature and humidity surrounding their skin. It will help you optimize your diaper changes, reduce overall diaper use, and may help reduce instances of skin rash due to prolonged exposure to moisture. All you do is snap it to the outside of the diaper and connect it to Diaper's app. It will notify you when number 1 or number 2 happens. Subscribe through the link in my show notes and you will get a free bonus diaper bag just for trying them out. You can cancel anytime with no obligation, but still keep the bag. Having a fussy, nonstop crying baby can take all the joy out of motherhood. Is it gas? Is it constipation? Is it colic? It's hard to know, but there is a solution for all of those. Happy Tummy is a waistband that comes with an herbal pouch. When you microwave the pouch and apply the waistband to your fussy baby, your baby is instantly soothed. That's thanks to a natural formulation of herbs including flaxseed, chamomile, lemongrass, peppermint, spearmint, and lavender. Happy Tummy is all natural, no drugs or drops. And not only does it quickly soothe your baby, but it smells terrific. Happy Tummy also has adult-sized waistbands, which mothers love for cramps, stomach aches, and back aches. Use my code HAPPYBIRTHWAY for 10% off your whole order on happytummy.com. That's HAPPITUMMI.com, code HAPPYBIRTHWAY for 10% off.
And then I knew what to do. I smelled it. I said, it's odorless. I looked at it. I said, it's clear. Okay, we're good. Let me call the doctor. I call the doctor.
Oh, you're smart.
She's yawning at 4 a.m., my doctor. She's calling me Miley. I'm like, yes, hello, good morning. And yeah, so she's like, yeah, if you're not having any contractions, go back to sleep, get all the rest you need. If you don't have contractions in the next 4 hours, then give me a call back. If you do have contractions, give me a call back. Okay, great. So I'm sitting there Googling everything.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, I couldn't go back to sleep. I was chilling though. I call my mom. Literally, this is our phone call. Hi, mom. Good morning. I just wanted to let you know my water broke. I'm not having contractions. So I'll call you back at 8 a.m. and we'll see where how it goes.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
so calm. I was super calm.
Well, this is,
I
I just need to say though, this is a great point to make to our listeners that it's not like the movies. Oh, there's a very small percentage of people whose water breaks premature. And
hmm
when I say premature, I don't say preterm, premature rupture of membranes, which means that your water breaks before you start having contractions, before you actually have labor. You're
hmm
full term though, which is what you have, and there is a small amount of people. I think it's somewhere between 5 to 10% of people, like a low amount of people that have this. And it's not like the movies. Like your water doesn't break and suddenly you have massive contractions. Sometimes it can, but rarely.
Yeah. So 3 hours later, I started getting this little tingly back pain. I was like, oh, back labor. Okay. Okay. You know what? I had the abdominal pain when I had the whole episode with the ovarian cyst. I could do the back pain. This is a better type of pain for me. I never heard anyone say that before. I could do it. I have this little room in my apartment that's like dedicated to exercise, and I like got in there, started doing all my moves. I'm in quadruped, I'm rocking, I'm breathing through it. Um, by the time my contractions started getting closer together, I forgot how close they were, but they were pretty close. Um, I had my parents come pick me up, and I made my husband shave. I was like, our baby's not meeting you with that giant thing on your face. I made him go across the street to buy me salads. I said, go buy me salad, go buy me a muffin,
You're
go buy
so
me yogurt.
practical.
I need to have, I'm telling you, I'm a practical person. I had everything, prepared. I'm sitting there on the floor. There's pictures of me in my hallway on all fours, just smiling. I'm like waiting for everyone to get themselves together so we can get in the car. We drive from Brooklyn to Manhattan, Upper East Side, in bumper to bumper traffic. I had my labor playlist. We're playing Black Eyed Peas. We're playing Michael Jackson. We're playing I'm Coming Out. Like baby's coming. We're like having a party in the car on the way to the hospital. It was me and my parents and my husband in the car. Um,
I love this like
and
happy family bunch,
I just kind of tried to make it a party.
But it's cute that like not just your mom, but that your father came with you. Like it's just cute.
Yeah, I thought it was cute too. He was excited to just like take me there.
Is
Um,
this the first
and it's just
grandbaby?
first grandbaby. Yeah, you could tell, right?
Extra right. That's what I'm saying. I'm like both parents driving you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, it was like a monumental. So,
I'll bet.
so it was pretty funny. Like I remember we pulled up to the hospital and I was literally mid contraction and I stopped and I made my mom take a picture of me like posing outside the hospital with my belly and there's like these two guys smoking cigarettes outside. They were like they couldn't breathe. They like fell on the floor. They're like, who's this lady posing for a picture mid contraction?
Gotta put it on
So
the Instagram. Gotta put it on the
exactly.
gram.
So I get to triage and I'm like I forgot how many centimeters I was. Maybe I was like 4 or 5. And
Definitely in labor.
yeah, I was definitely in labor. And one of the nurses that came in, someone that I actually know personally from my community, and I told her,
Nice.
listen, it's 11 a.m. I'm having a boy. If I give birth before sunset, my son's Brit Milah will be on Shavuot. Everyone's going to be in Jersey for the weekends because that's what everyone in my community does. They go to Jersey for Shavuot. I'm not going to have any pictures, and no one's going to come. If I give birth after sunset, I could have a bris the day after Shavuot. Do you think I could hold it in? She was like, no. Everyone was like, no, you're going, you're going, you're going. I
Now,
was
now
like,
I'm
oh
like
no.
holding my breath. I need to hear this.
Yeah. I was like, oh no. Oh no. So I get to they check me in, I get to the room and I'm like, you know what? If I'm not making it to sunset, let me just get the baby out. I was planning on doing an epidural. I said, let me just wait a little bit. Like the pain's not too bad. Let's have a party. Blasting music, sitting on that ball, bouncing through every contraction, tilting my pelvis in every way I could tolerate, and we're really just having a good time. Another nurse comes in, another person that I know personally from my community. I guess she like found out I was there, and we're like having a whole dance party until my pain was like at the limit that I wanted to be at. And I said, okay, go get the anesthesiologist. He did mwah, fantastic job.
Love
Once
that.
I asked him to marry me after,
Oh yeah,
um,
I've seen
and
many
this
proposals.
nurse
I've
this
seen
nurse
I've
helped
seen
me.
straight women propose to female anesthesiologists. Okay.
Yeah. So this nurse helped me actually breathe through the the actual small procedure of getting the
Mm-hmm.
epidural. I was a little bit nervous. That was like probably the most nerve-wracking thing of my whole experience, and she really got me through it. It was fine. So that was great. So I always tell people like ask your nurse to help you during the epidural if you're feeling nervous.
Oh yeah, that's our
So
job.
that
Nurses don't.
yeah.
If you tell me that nurses do, like whatever, it's just another disappointing thing to hear if nurses don't help through the epidural. That's literally my job for the
I mean,
epidural
she told
placement.
me like when to breathe, and it was really great. It was really great. I'm pouring a second glass of wine here.
Oh, okay,
Um,
enjoy.
so okay, once I had the epidural, everything was bliss. But I don't know if epidurals slow down labor, but like things kind of just were like chill.
They can slow down
They were
labor. Yeah,
yeah,
a little
things were
bit,
chill.
not a whole
Like I
bunch,
was
but a
I
little
was re
bit.
I was relaxing and I was like, this baby ain't coming till 8:02. Okay? Not happening. So my mom and my husband are there. My mom got certified as a doula. Like she literally
Uh
took a
huh.
doula course so she could
I
come to the hospital
Yes,
and sit
I've
next
heard
to
about
me.
that. I have to tell you, my sister-in-law wanted me to come with her, to be her doula during around the time that you gave birth. And when I called the nurse manager, because they had the whole doula rule with the certification,
Hmm.
I called the nurse manager of the unit prior to find out like can I pass as, certified doula if I'm a labor and delivery nurse, and I give you a letter from my manager that I'm a labor and delivery nurse for 7 years. And she's like, I'm so sorry. Like, just take one of the stupid online doula courses. She's like, all the patients' moms are doing them now. And it's cheaper.
Yeah.
It's cheaper to do that than to actually even hire a doula. So,
Yeah, I asked my mom to forward me the slides so I could like incorporate it into my practice.
Smart.
Yeah. So so that was great that I had two people with me. I'm very grateful. We really had a good time. So once the epidural came and I was just like chilling, I was like, let's just pass time doing my tea leave, watching TV, scrolling through Instagram. There was a whole war going on in Israel, so I was like praying the whole time for that. Um, and I was really just like taking it easy. So now the nurse comes and does a cervical check, and she's like, "Oh, you're 6 centimeters, and there's a little piece of amniotic fluid by the baby's head. If we rupture it or whatever, then
It's called a
we'll
four
progress your
bag.
labor."
Yeah, it's called a four bag.
Okay,
It
I
happens a
never
lot of
even heard of
times
it.
with people whose water breaks, where like sometimes there's kind of like a bag that gets like a bubble that gets stuck. So some of the membrane is kind of still there. Yeah. And if it kind of like just needs an extra little poke
Yeah,
it's
so
blocking the baby's head somewhere. There's just like a little bubble, little, cushion of more
So
fluid.
so here I am, not wanting to give birth yet. So I'm like, oh, let's wait for my doctor to come. She's coming in a couple hours. Like, let's just wait. So
Suave.
my doctor comes like 5:30 and she like takes out this crochet needle, like this
Hmm.
10-foot long crochet needle,
Yep.
and she's like, okay, let's pop your bag. And I'm like, do we have to do that right now? And she's just like, oh no, we could totally wait. Like, no, that's fine.
I'd like to
And
wait
I'm
until
like,
after 8:02.
yeah. So then my mom looks at me and I look at her. And I never had a conversation with her, nothing. She follows the doctor out of the room and says, my daughter's having a boy. She wants to give birth after sunset.
Oh, you are your mother's daughter, obviously.
Yeah. So the doctor was, oh, yeah, don't worry. We can leave her as long as you need. Don't worry. Don't worry. Like, she's so chill, my doctor. I love her. I really love her. I want to go for coffee with her.
I just need to say you are
So,
like the epitome of practicality right here. Like, I just need to
I'm
say, like,
telling you,
okay, yeah.
it's my philosophy. So, by the way, you want to hear how calculated I am? Like an hour before sunset, or maybe even 2 hours, I'm not pressing this epidural button anymore because I want to feel the pressure of pushing. So I'm like calculating everything. 8:02, I press the nurse call button. I'm like, check me, check me.
Oh.
So I'm like, okay, we made
Thankfully,
it. We
your
made it.
baby and you were okay throughout. Obviously, if
Yeah, thank
something
God.
were to have been concerning, you wouldn't have done this. But this is great. I mean, your baby was meant to be born on the day he was born. So,
You want to hear the crazy part? I was in labor on Erev Rosh Chodesh Sivan, which I actually have it right here in
there's a
the Anini
tefillah to
book.
say,
There's a
yes.
tefillah to
Tefillah
say for the
hashla.
success of your children,
Yes, tefillah
tefillah
hashla.
hashla. And it was on the day I was in labor. I thought that was crazy. And then I got my little Torah on Rosh Chodesh Sivan. I
Oh,
thought that was
I love
stunning.
that. My
I
son was
thought
actually
that was
born on
stunning.
Shavuot. Now I'm sorry, I said Shavuot.
Oh, that's great.
But no, my son, yeah, no, it's so beautiful. That was really nice. Wow, that's
I
very
thought it was
nice.
mag,
So
yeah.
you said Tfilas Hashla?
Oh, I said it all day. I said it 10 times during the
Oh,
day.
I
Me and my husband were reading it
love
over and
that.
over.
I love it. When I was
Yeah.
single, actually, in seminary, our principal told us that we should say that instead of like tefillos for shidduchim. She said because that's basically like a 2-in-1. You can't,
Right.
you can't have kids
You
unless you
can't
have
have
a
one
shidduch.
without the other.
Right, exactly. So I used to say it every day. Actually, I probably know it
Oh,
by heart.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. I
Ooh,
was
I should
I was
start
very
saying
holy
it.
in those days. Yeah, it was before I had
I'm
kids and
sure you
like
still
a lot
are.
of other responsibilities. Um, thank you. Thanks for your confidence in me. But I have to say, like, I just need to tell you, I had a little bit of an opposite situation where I knew I was having a boy, and I knew that if I was going to give birth Like it was close to Shkia, and I knew if I was going to give birth after Shkia, then the birth would have been Erev Rosh Hashanah, which is like a pretty busy day, and I did not want that.
Ooh.
So I remember like pushing with all my might and pushed him out 7 minutes before like Shkia.
Oh my God. Wow. You're a legend.
Because I was
You're a
also like
legend. I would
practically
not
speaking.
want that. That would not want that
It
pressure.
was
You're
pressure.
practical
It
like
was
me.
no pun
Join the
intended. It was
practicality
pressure.
club. Yeah.
Pregnancy and birth take a huge toll on your pelvic and abdominal organs. 1 in every 5 women in the United States suffers from some form of pelvic organ prolapse. There are very few pelvic support belts for women with a prolapsed uterus, vulvar varicose veins, pubic symphysis, drop bladder, etc. that exist on the market today. The products that do exist lack in comfort and fit. That's why Braceability has made it their mission to create a supportive, effective, and comfortable pelvic brace. After months of research, development, and testing, Braceability now introduces the brand new Pelvic Pro. It's an undergarment that's created to relieve aches and pains associated with pelvic floor dysfunction through innovative compression therapy. It's designed to keep you active and on the go. The Pelvic Pro helps alleviate the feeling that everything is going to fall out of the bottom. Braceability also has a huge array of pregnancy and postpartum belly wraps to support you through pregnancy and birth, including C-section abdominal binders. Click on Braceability's link in my episode show notes and enter Happy Birthway to get an exclusive discount of 15% on your whole order. KiwiCo crates are a monthly subscription of crates that come filled with age-appropriate STEAM projects for kids, from toddlers to teenagers and even adults. STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Every crate explores a different theme designed to spark creativity, thinking, and learning. All projects, inspiration, and activities are created by a team of product designers in-house and rigorously tested by kids. KiwiCo offers all different product lines spanning a variety of interests and age ranges. Panda Crate is for babies from 0 to 24 months. Each crate helps babies learn by doing what they do best: playing, exploring, and most importantly, interacting with the people in their lives. Crates arrive every other month and are filled with 2 months worth of content. So if you're trying to figure out what a developmentally appropriate way to interact with your baby is, Panda Crates will take the guesswork out. For an exclusive 30% off discount on your first month subscription, go to kiwico.com, that's KIWICO.com, and enter code LEARN30 at checkout. That's kiwico.com, code LEARN30 at checkout. All right. So then 802, they checked you and
Yeah, I was like 9 centimeters.
nice.
And by the time I remember I was just sitting there and I was like, I have to poop. Great, let's do it. All of a sudden, lights, camera, action, and 15 minutes of pushing, like bing, bang, boom. Kid was out,
Okay, you are
and
just
I was
like
just
putting
so
everyone else to
relieved.
shame. It's obviously because you're a physical pelvic floor PT that.
You know what's actually interesting? I think I've spoken to you about this before. I always practiced open glottis pushing. So that's pushing without holding your breath.
Right.
Puts less pressure down. It probably takes a little bit longer to get things moving from a physical standpoint, but I ended up doing closed glottis just because my doctor recommended it, and I trust her with all my soul. And I said, you know what? She said both are good, but she sees better results with closed. I'll do closed. I did it. A couple hours after I gave birth, they tried getting me into the recovery wheelchair to go to the next room. And I was like, guys, I really don't feel good. Like, I really don't feel good. My blood pressure was super low, and I actually passed out, like, in the chair. They had to, like,
Oh.
re-put me
Oh my
in the
God, that's
bed.
like my nightmare. Oh,
Yeah, give me more IV, give me a catheter, take my temperature, do that. I had all people all over me. I thought I was gonna die. I
yeah.
thought I was gonna die, and one of my fears during pregnancy was dying in childbirth because that's what happens before modern medicine.
Oh.
So I said, why? I don't know. Hack him to me. So thank God for medicine. Yeah. So I didn't die after passing out. It was actually a non-traumatic event for me because of how well taken care of I was.
Did they know why? Was it like a hemorrhage? Did you hemorrhage?
Not that I know of. There was no crazy bleeding.
I have to say, there is like for the first 1 or 2 times when you get up after having a baby, we are extra vigilant with like the blood can rush from your head. And that's why
Hmm.
like when I'm getting my patients out of bed for the first time, like I really have them sit on the bed and dangle their legs and like I just wait, you know.
I did all that. All of my
Yeah. No,
nurses
no,
did
I
all that
believe
with
it.
me.
I believe it.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is it does happen where you kind of just, turn white and pass out. And
I knew I wasn't good. Like I'm very in touch with my body, and I said, guys, like I'm not good. Like I'm not good right now. I can't get into the wheelchair. And
wow.
whatever, on the second attempt, I was fine. And happens to be like once I got home and everything, I had the most fantastic recovery. I was walking on Ocean Parkway with a stroller and a friend by like 2 weeks. Like I was great. Taking it
Wow.
easy within the guidelines of, all the pelvic PT evidence that I read and absorb myself in, but I felt good enough to go for walks. I was sitting with my legs crossed like 3, 4 days after giving birth.
Nice. So I just want to go back because
Yeah.
I have a few questions. First of all, when you
Hmm.
talk about the open glottis versus closed glottis pushing, I mean, my belief is really whatever works, whatever's working. So,
Exactly.
and I do see people with an epidural do better with closed glottis pushing because it's just harder to feel like what's happening. However, some people do feel the pressure and they're pushing nicely even with open glottis pushing. And yes, like you said, it probably can take longer with the open glottis pushing. I will say that the two benefits are that babies tend to be oxygenated better because the mom is breathing, she's
Hmm.
not holding her breath.
That makes a
Again,
ton of sense.
right, and this is not making a blatant statement that every single baby is like that, but they have seen that the APGAR, I think
Hmm.
either the 1 minute APGAR scores, okay, I don't want to even quote that, but they have seen that babies can do a little bit better with the open glottis pushing. But secondly, and there are other things to do if your baby's not so, excited about your pushing and the heart rate's going down. There's other things to do. But the second piece is I think that, I've come to this like realization that, sometimes in the medical world, they're kind of like rushing the pushing where like let's get this baby out, let's do whatever is getting this baby's head down the fastest with the most force.
The fastest is not the best from a musculoskeletal perspective.
Yes, and research has shown with open glottis pushing, there are fewer incidences of incontinence 3 months postpartum.
That is interesting because I saw a study saying that prolapse, you're at a higher risk of prolapse if you push for less than 30 minutes or more than 2 hours.
Huh. I mean, it makes sense. Both
Hmm.
ways make sense. But,
Yeah.
so again, it might be, and I don't know about lacerations. I haven't read about, tearing and open glottis versus closed glottis pushing. And again, it's really hard to measure these things because some people will do a combination of both. But
Hmm.
I think that we just focus on the how fast can you get the baby out. And if your baby's not hating labor, like if your baby's heart rate's doing okay and tolerating labor, then fast is not always the only end goal. So
Hmm.
again, this is like totally like it's a nuanced thing and it like can have a whole conversation all in and of itself. But just that you mentioned the open versus closed glottis, I always tell everyone like it's really whatever works for you. But when
Hmm.
open glottis pushing is working for someone, and maybe they're not pushing as fast, but there's definitely descent and they're pushing, there's progress when they push with the open glottis, then like I've told residents, like she's making progress. It's okay. You don't need to rush it.
Hmm.
Like the baby's fine. Everything's good. This is how she wants to push. She's making progress. It's not like the baby's static. Let's just go along with it. And it works. So
Could you come be my L&D nurse?
I wish I could be everyone's, really. I was actually
Hmm.
one follower's like labor coach. She begged me and pleaded with me, and she was like one of my first followers. So, she was in touch with me way before she even got pregnant, and I loved it. It was like so awesome because I was a labor coach. I wasn't a nurse, so I got to do the fun part of my job without like all the
Right.
other stuff. Even though I was doing all the dirty work for the nurses because I know like what helps us. So I did it, and they liked me
Hmm.
because of that. But like I wish I could. I really do. I just the on call situation's hard. I can't drink any wine for 4 weeks.
Oh God.
So all right. So we talked about so perineal lacerations. That's what I wanted to ask you.
Mm. Okay, about me or in general?
No, about you.
Okay, so it's actually pretty funny. So, my doctor told me, "Oh, you look like you just scraped your knee on the sidewalk. You didn't really get anything." And I was like, "Okay, so no stitches?" She's like, "No, no, I'm gonna give you a stitch." So she's like sitting there for like more than a minute, and I was like, "What? That's one stitch?" And she was like, "No, no, just put a couple things in there." And I was like, "Okay, no problem." And then like I don't know, however many months later, another friend of mine who uses the same practice, who had like much worse tear than I did. It was probably like second degree. I probably had first degree. Doctor told her same thing, like
Oh,
you skinned your knee on the sidewalk, and she like couldn't walk. She had like the whole ice padsicles for like weeks
oh my
situation.
gosh.
Like I used ice for like I don't even think I used it after the hospital. Like I
Well, I'll
was
say
good.
truly, truly, and this you'll find this interesting because I think maybe it'll make sense to you. We really want you to wean off the ice somewhere 24 to 48 hours after delivering um, because ice is a vaso.
It's a vasoconstrictor. You could argue
Exactly.
that it slows down the inflammatory process and slows down the healing process.
Right.
But when it comes to, pain management,
There are other things though you can do.
yeah, I did
I'm not
the,
saying it's
Tylenol, Motrin.
right. Well, besides for the Tylenol Motrin, there's witch hazel pads, there's Dibucane. Like there are other
Hmm.
things, and again, it's a case by case basis.
Dermaplast was a godsend. I
Yeah.
used that for like 2 or 3 days after. That was great.
Sits baths. Yeah. So
Yeah,
and it's a balance because at the same time you do want to promote healing. So with the
yeah,
with the ice, it's going to cause your blood vessels to constrict, and that will it may inhibit. Nothing I say is for going to do for sure for you, but it can make the healing a little bit longer. So, but it's a case by case basis. If you're in so much agony, then do whatever you need to do.
yeah,
I actually even like, Kate, I should do a reel on this. I shouldn't give it away on the podcast, but whatever, I will because different people listen to podcasts and then go on Instagram. But I like the putting corn syrup in a plastic bag and putting
hmm
it in the freezer. I just feel like that's a little bit more gentle than like straight up ice if you're gonna,
right.
when you come home. But listen, if you're really curious and losing sleep over it, you can always ask for your medical records and see what it was that you truly got.
Yeah, it was like a first degree tear. Like I actually checked myself for scar tissue.
Oh, you took a mirror and everything. Oh,
Yeah,
wow, wow. Did you
yeah.
hear about how the estrogen cream and that really can help with healing?
I did not hear that one.
Yes, 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 yes.
I would love that because your estrogen just plummet after giving birth,
Yeah,
so that would be
exactly.
cool.
Yeah, so estrogen, vaginal estrogen cream. Anyone who who's complaining to you, and it can promote, especially if you get like a really bad tear down there. But even like, second degree, yeah, you can let your patients know to ask their obstetric provider about it. And anyone listening here, if you're having a hard
Hmm.
time, then the estrogen cream can really it's just very localized in the vaginal area, and it can
I
help.
shall spread the word.
Yeah,
Send me a
I
study.
know, isn't it gold? I don't know if there is a study. I've spoken to more than one. I've spoken to a midwife. I've spoken to an OBGYN who really they promote it.
I love that.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, yeah. So besides for your fainting escapade, I'm glad you're okay. But yeah, these fainting things happen. I don't know. Okay, you probably don't even remember. We have something called ammonia salts, which is like really smells horrific and
Like sniffing salt,
right,
right?
exactly. Smelling salt. So it's like a little tube. We crack it open. We put it in front of the patient's nose, and like sometimes they just like go. Whoo! It's like Trias Mason, like they suddenly wake up.
Don't even remember. I don't think they did that.
So then, were
I
you?
was up. I was up once they like took me out of the wheelchair and put me in the bed. Like I was up.
Yeah, yeah. So there's something else called the vasovagal event, right? Do you know
That's what they
so
said
you
happened to
vasovagal,
me.
yeah, yeah. And
Hmm.
again, it's just part of like the whole physiology. Sometimes getting up after labor, you just had so much intense stuff happening, and then
Yeah.
suddenly you move your body, and you said it in relation to pushing. Do you think it had something to do with the closed glottis
I
pushing?
I just think I did. I just think it did. Like when you just have like a gut feeling, but not like really good evidence to like back it up.
I mean, I
But
don't know.
something in
Maybe
your
there is
gut.
evidence of
I think something happened to my blood pressure from
yeah.
that.
And just for listeners who have absolutely no idea what we're talking about and why we're connecting the two, the vasovagal nerve is actually a nerve that goes all the way from your brain down to like lots of body parts in your body, and it when you stimulate it, then it can cause your blood pressure and your heart rate to go down. So when people like really bear down very hard. It's the Valsalva maneuver, and that can stimulate your vagal nerve, and that can cause like a low heart rate. And that's why people who have certain heart problems are not supposed to be bear down really strong. But that's so interesting. I never thought about that. I love this. Like, I love this whole idea. I would love to look it up.
I'm
Interesting.
connecting it. I don't know if there's evidence, but that's my
Millie,
connection.
you
And
get the evidence. You make the evidence. Now you need to
yeah,
do a study. This is your, postdoctoral project.
yeah, and I guess this is where like the marathoner in me comes out. Like I remember with that closed glottis pushing, like between pushes, I was telling the doctor like the New York City Marathon's harder than this. Like this is just a really tough workout. I can do this.
Yeah, I have said this in the past. I do feel that athletes have, they have some kind of good preparation in terms of endurance for.
Okay, so like really, birth is an endurance, not a sprint. Like I feel like that's kind of common knowledge. I hope.
Mhm.
And really, I find that the endurance athlete in me was like able to like rough that out. But I remember right before pushing, I asked one of the nurses, like, oh, how long does it take to push a baby out on average here? And they were like, oh, first time mom's 2 hours. I'm like, you think I'm doing this for 2 hours? Let's do it. Let's do it. We're getting this right now. Like,
Oh
we're just
yeah.
gonna
Oh
get it
yeah.
out.
Some of us are like that. I had my doctor also with number one. He was just whatever. He's like, oh, this is gonna take a long time. Walked out and then like barely got back in time to catch the baby because a few minutes later she was crowning because I was like, no, I'm not doing this for that long. No, 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 no.
Yeah, I
Like,
wanted him
I'll
out.
show you.
Yeah, I just wanted him out. Once the pushing started, I said, we're getting this over with.
Good. Good.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah. Next time will be
yeah,
even faster.
yeah, inshallah.
So, okay, like what else? What else do you want to tell us?
Trying to think of like another, like all the good nuggets, it's like such good nuggets. I remember starting my pelvic floor exercises in the hospital bed. I was doing, the same way you want to kind of promote circulation to any area of the body that needs, lymphatic drainage or like new oxygen because it's sore. Same applies to your pelvic floor. They're a group of muscles that sits in the bottom of your hip bones, and they work just like your biceps work at the gym. And if you're swollen, you know how like when you're on the airplane, they tell you to do ankle pumps to
Mm-hmm.
get blood flow into your calves and back
Mm-hmm.
to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing in your pelvic floor. You want to promote
Mm.
circulation. So I was doing like little Kegels, and it's not to strengthen, my pelvic floor. It's to promote blood flow. The same way when you do ankle pops on the
I
plane, you're not doing a
love
calf workout.
that.
You're not doing a calf
Wow.
workout. Yeah. So just to kind of like drain all the old lymph and blood out and try to promote the healing process to
Yeah,
happen. I was
so
doing my,
the
yeah.
geek in me needs to just get into another really quick anatomy
Hmm.
physiology lesson. But basically, our blood vessels, majority, well, I don't want to say majority of them, but not the arteries, but the veins, which are the blood vessels that bring your blood back up to your heart, they have very little pressure in them. They basically siphon off the pressure from it's like the leftover pressure from whatever the arteries are giving them, plus your muscle movement. So your muscles are the movement of the muscle, the contraction, and is what kind of helps to squeeze that blood back up to your heart, which is why people have varicose veins. Their blood vessels are just way too little pressure. So so what Millie's saying is with the lymph nodes as well. The lymphatic system is another drainage system, with the fluid coming out of your veins into it. And so all of these, plumbings, for lack of a better word, they all need the muscles to help them continue to push, kind of, milk the fluids back up to where they're supposed to go. That's so interesting, though. I need to hear
Hmm.
about these exercises. Let's save that
Yeah.
for the next episode because
Yeah, because we could elaborate that on that
I would
next time.
love that. Oh my gosh, this is gold.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this with my patients.
Yeah, there's so much you could do. I also started doing some deep diaphragmatic breathing in the hospital, which is basically taking a deep breath into your belly, trying to feel your rib cage expand, your back and belly expand, and exhaling, kind of like contracting your core, but very, 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 very gently, just to get yourself in touch with your body. And it was very grounding. Like a major event just happened, and my body just went through so much. Like I feel like I got hit by a truck. Now let me be present in this moment and feel everything that I'm feeling. And I was able to do that just like lying down on the hospital bed, super, just close your eyes, take a few deep breaths in and out, 5 breaths every few hours, and just ground myself to the moment here and now. How am I feeling? What does a breath feel like? What does my body feel like? How am I emotionally feeling? And I was able to just get in touch with myself like that from really early on. And that's like the practical physical therapist in me, I guess. That's like not what a normal person would do.
Well, I'm going to say, like, this is veering off of practicality a little bit. This is like the you channeling the yogi and
I
meditative hippie in
suppose.
you.
I'm really not that hippie, but yeah,
No,
I don't know.
I feel like we all have a little bit of hippie in us, some more than others. But
Yeah.
I am a today I had a patient who's also from Brooklyn. Okay, we're in Connecticut here, so like as soon as I heard her talking, the way she just walked into the unit and be like, "I'm not going to triage. I'm going straight to the room. I'm in labor. I need my epidural." So I had her sit like with literally like with in a pretzel. What do you call it in your clinical terms?
Crisscross, I don't know.
Crisscross
Clinical
applesauce.
terms,
Yeah.
butterfly.
Crisscross applesauce, okay?
Yeah.
That's probably the most clinically accurate term. Anyway, so, and I had her with her palms facing up on her thighs. And this is a great position for the epidural, actually. It's a new position that an anesthesiologist taught me that works really well. And, like, she's so Brooklyn, like, really got no hippie in her. And I was just laughing. I'm like, all right, now you're meditating. This is the hippie in you. But I think that this is so important. Like you said, your body just went through a
Yeah,
massive trauma. And obviously when we say trauma, we don't necessarily mean psychological trauma. Your body went through a huge trauma besides for the
it is
trauma
a
of the nine
trauma.
months. Right, it is.
It is a
Besides for the
trauma.
trauma of the 9 months, giving birth is a trauma. No matter how you cut it, it is natural, it is normal, but it is a trauma to the body.
Yes, it is. It really is. Yeah, I think the same way we were saying before, you get surgery, you need to go to rehab. When you give birth, it's the same idea.
Yep. Yep.
It's the
And
same
for a third
idea.
of people who live in the States, it's literally surgery.
Right, for a cesarean, that's a major surgery. That's like not
It
anything
is.
small.
It's
It's a
major,
big deal. They're
legit, like,
cutting through so many layers.
yeah. It's not like making 3 holes and cutting up an appendix inside of you and taking it out. Like, it's legit, like, so many layers. It's major
Yeah.
open surgery.
Yeah. C-section patients are some of my favorites.
Yeah, and like we're gonna have to talk about this then when we talk more about pelvic PT, but like they are not excluded from the pelvic PT
Oh,
people.
no, 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 not at all.
Just
We'll
be,
talk about that later because I could go on and
yeah,
on.
exactly. Me,
Yeah.
me too. We'll be up all night.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. I love that. What else? Any other
Yeah.
nuggets?
Another thing that I found to be helpful, and let me clarify before you give your opinion, perineal massage before labor. So that's basically a muscle between what I like to call the wind and the rain, and it's kind of tough. And what you could do is massage along it from like 35 weeks plus in pregnancy. And I was pretty diligent about doing that every other day for like anywhere between 3 and 5 minutes. And there was literature a long time ago that said it may be helpful, it may not be. We don't really know what the situation is. They were saying that it might, for first time vaginal births, it could decrease the severity of a tear,
Like third and fourth
and
degree tears. Yeah.
yeah, and for subsequent births, it could just reduce like the risk of having a tear. But it wasn't like the best evidence in the world, but it can't hurt. And I'll
Right.
tell you why. I'll tell you why it can't hurt, and I'll tell you the other benefits of it. Our central nervous system is programmed to go into fight or flight when something that we don't want is happening. If you're practicing touching a part of your body that's innervated by a lot of nerves, then you're starting to familiarize yourself with what a situation is going to feel like so that when you give birth and you're feeling the discomforts, you already know how to get through it. So if you're doing your perineal massage, it's going to feel uncomfortable. It might sting and burn. It shouldn't be painful, but it will be uncomfortable because you're kind of stretching a muscle that's pretty tough. And by teaching yourself with a physical therapist how to breathe through the discomfort, you're kind of training yourself for labor and delivery because you're going to be breathing through the discomfort,
Mm.
whether or not you have an epidural, because there's going to be a portion of time before you get that, that you need to know how to manage yourself.
Oh yeah.
What I also thought was interesting is that I used to always tell my patients, like, oh, your partner could do this to you, or your husband could do this for you, if you can't reach. But now that I'm like reading more and thinking more about it, our bodies are also programmed to be a little bit more guarded and not as relaxed when someone else is touching us. Even if you have the most fantastic bonding relationship with your significant other, they might be going a little bit too hard, thinking they're doing you a favor of like, oh, I'm stretching it out for you more. But at the end of the day, when you're touching and you're in control, you're going to be able to get into more of a state of muscle relaxation, which is what we want to prepare you for birth. Because your pelvic floor is supposed to basically be off and out of the way so your uterus can push the baby out. Like your pelvic floor is not doing anything during labor and delivery. So that's like a really good
That makes
nugget
a
of
lot of
advice.
sense.
Yeah, that's like a really good nugget of advice I give my patients when we do like our last, birth prep finale session.
I love that. Can I just say that makes so much sense? And going back to what you said about your pelvis needs to be out of the way, your pelvic floor, not your pelvis, the muscles. When people talk about Kegels and, doing Kegels, stop at the red light and do some Kegels. When you're pregnant and getting ready for birth, the actual focus should be on the relaxation of your pelvic floor. So if you're going to do Kegels, focus on the relaxation part of the Kegels, not the tightening part of the Kegels.
Yes. So actually, I'm very big on strengthening your pelvic floor through the second trimester because you do need to have that strength for everything that's weighing down on you. Once you hit the second trimester, like towards the end of it, that's when we start. Let's work through a full range of motion. Like, let's make sure you have strength at the top and let's make sure you have strength at the bottom. Kind of the same way your bicep moves, right? You need to be able to move through the whole entire way. Because if you're just tight and you're up here, you're not strong. Like you can't lift anything. But if you could just straighten your arm all the way in a functional pattern, then, you could lift things up and put them down. So your pelvic floor it's muscles, right? So you want to make sure that you're able to be strong enough at the top, but also be able to relax all the way at the bottom. So towards the end of pregnancy, when I have my patients preparing for labor and delivery, I'm still having them contract, but the contractions are not as intense or long at all. I'm just making sure they have the strength there. But in between each contraction, there is a period of relaxation where you're making sure that your pelvic floor is able to fully lengthen and have the range of motion that it's supposed to have.
Yeah. And I've seen, it's interesting because I see this is totally anecdotal. I see like people who are like ballerinas or gymnastics people, like people who do this kind of stuff hardcore, they have very tight pelvic floor muscles as a result, and they end up in C-sections frequently because they condition
Gotta let go.
they condition their body to have a very strong and tight pelvic floor. And I'm embarrassed to say this, but like years into my job, I didn't exactly understand what does pelvic floor mean. And to me, a great way that I learned it is I picture it as like one of those mesh stretchy bags, and like that's what holds the organs and your pelvis in place. And it contracts and relaxes, and you need to be able to relax it in order to get your baby out, and then you need to be able to contract it and strengthen it at other times, when you're peeing and pooping and all that other stuff. I don't know if you would agree with that or not, but it's basically like just a bag, like a stretchy bag that's enclosing all of your lower
I
organs.
usually describe it as a hammock or a trampoline.
Right, a hammock. That's what I
Because
have
it
in
needs
mind.
to go up
Yeah.
and down.
Yeah.
I also like to talk about it like a jellyfish. If you ever think about the way the jellyfish moves, it needs to float all the way down like that in order to come back up. If it doesn't float all the way down, it can't come all the way back up. So you need to get that full range in order to move like a jellyfish.
Oh, I love it. I love pelvic PTs. You guys are like empowering so many women. I didn't know about pelvic PTs like, I don't know, 10 years ago. I don't know if it's because there were very few around. I don't know if it's
Probably part of the reason.
because thankfully I didn't, need the help of one. But I feel like it's so empowering for women because so many women are living with so many problems that may be embarrassing for them to turn to somebody, or they'll go to their OBGYN who will tell them there's nothing to do about it and they're suffering. And pelvic PTs, you guys are a godsend to them. Like, you are a godsend.
Yeah. I think it's like a certain type of personality that goes into this field of work. Like, I'll have patients who look at me and they're like, "How are you talking about pee, poop, and sex with the most straight face I've ever seen?" And I'm like, this is my job. Like, this is what we're here for. I'm your medical provider.
It's
Like,
just another day in your life.
like, you need to be able to know that I'm talking to you judgment free. This doesn't faze me. This is what it
me
is.
and you, we could talk about pee, poop, and sex all day. Like, we're
Yeah.
just a regular conversation for two
Yeah.
people in this, women's health field. Millie,
Yeah.
we really got to wrap up because, like,
Yeah,
I could
we
go
do.
on
It's just
forever.
long.
And I'm definitely going to have you on again to really dive deep into all the different common challenges of the pelvic floor that people face.
Yes.
Before birth.
I was holding back a lot, so we should definitely do another one.
Oh my gosh, yes, we need to. We should have double booked like a 2-hour session. But I want to ask you, please, to tell our audience how they can reach you. Unfortunately, you're in Brooklyn, so you're localized. I don't think you could do like the telehealth thing. Although maybe, you're telling me that you recommend that people do things like on their own to their pelvic floor. Like, I don't know. Can you do tele PT?
Yeah, technically I can. You can reach out to me on Instagram at MillieDPT, and you could send me an email at milliedpt@gmail.com.
And Millie spelled Millie.
IE, yes.
Millie, and I will put that in the show notes as well. I'm
Yes.
really so happy to have met you, and Instagram is awesome. Like, social media is awesome. You just like meet these people that you totally vibe with. Like, you and I, we can go like a night in town and go to a bar and drink.
Let's do
more
it. I
wine
should take a
than
trip to Chicago.
I'm
That's
in
where you are, right?
Connecticut. Stop,
Connecticut.
okay? I'm much closer. But like, honestly,
Connecticut. I should take a trip.
yeah.
Lake Compound.
Hey, what? How do you know about it?
I've been there a couple times.
No way. That's like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I think they closed down in COVID. It's really sad.
Oh no.
I think they're like extinct, whatever.
Oh, man.
Defunct. I don't know what the word is.
That was a cute place.
Yeah, I've never been there. I've been to Quasi.
Okay.
Which is another place, but I heard like Compound's a little bit better.
Yeah.
But now there's New England New England Six Flags. If you really want to go anywhere, it's like Boston. It's like an hour away from us. Yeah. So yeah, there's not much else going on here in Connecticut. But next time I come your way, which I probably will because I'm from Brooklyn. We should make a fun meetup.
Yeah, we really should.
All right. So thank you so much, Millie. It was just such an honor to have you. And I can't wait to have
Oh
you
my
on
God,
again.
thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be on this podcast that I listen to.
Yay!
I think I've heard every episode.
Oh, wow. Hardcore. Okay. I'm really flattered.
I'm a podcast junkie.
Well, me too. That's why I did this.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning into the Happy Birthday Podcast. Head over to Yoledet Academy on Instagram to continue the conversation. You'll find the link in the episode show notes, as well as links to any additional resources, products, and services mentioned here. If you love listening to the show, you can help it grow by sharing it with your friends and rating and reviewing it. To stay in the loop when new episodes are released, make sure to subscribe. Remember that your health needs are unique and require individualized medical advice. The podcast is not a replacement, and some of the information may not be appropriate for your specific circumstances. My mission is to educate you so that you can confidently collaborate with your healthcare team. I believe that a healthy mom and healthy baby are simply not enough. We also need a happy mom with an empowering birth experience.